Hello everyone, this is Ricky Fury again, bringing you another video talking about survivability in Star Trek Online. My previous video covered the basic traits you can earn in the game for free. This video will be going over the super basics of accuracy and defense, and thereafter talking about the reputation traits you can also earn. Now for accuracy and defense. So in basic terms, accuracy is the ability of your ship to hit an enemy, while defense is the ability of your ship to dodge enemy attacks. There are a couple of different ways to particularly increase your defense. And first off, there's some specialization stuff. Like first off, do you have the intelligence specialization? Because this specialization in space gives you additional defense. Do you have stuff in pilot that is also adding some additional defense things in there? Do you have accuracy and defense inside of your specialization, or sorry, specialization in your space traits? Because targeting expertise and defensive maneuvering adds additional accuracy and defense, which is nice. Some of the action and defense also depends upon the ship that you're flying. Inherently, certain ships will have some built-in accuracy and defense added to them. And also, certain ships, just based on how they are, they'll have additional defense and accuracy stuff added based upon how fast that they're going. Cruisers and dreadnoughts get the least additional defense out of moving, and escorts and raiders will get the most out of it. So that's also something to consider. Also, do you have any special consoles in particular that add additional accuracy and defense? There are some special consoles as well as special like deflectors and impulse engines that will also add defense to your ship. As well as, do you have any specific powers, or do you have any specific consoles that are adding additional defense to your ship? Now, in general, the way that this defense and accuracy thing works is that if your accuracy is greater than your target's defense, your hit chance is 100%, and you get additional crit chance and crit severity based upon how much more accuracy you have than their defense. Now, if their defense is greater than your accuracy, then there's a little formula here of 100 divided by 100 plus their defense minus your accuracy to get that percentage chance of hitting. And overall, with this defense, hit chance can drop below 25%. However, when I was trying to theory craft this, the only time that I really saw that possible was really if your attacker had significant negative accuracy, and then if your defense guy was pulling the punches with tons of activatables plus almost all of the defense consoles and deflectors inside the game itself, and optimizing skills and traits and specializations and things, which you're realistically not going to see in the game. However, your hit chance can drop pretty close to this, like in the example that I'm going to be showing. However, overall, with some just general numbers, for instance, if in general, if your opponent has 100 more defense than your accuracy, your chance to hit will drop to 50%. If they have 200 defense more than your accuracy, the chance to hit will drop to 33%, and it's only if they have 300 more defense than your accuracy will the chance to hit drop to 25%. So for these kind of two examples, it'll be my cruiser versus an escort. And I'm going to be using Snippy's escort from July of 2017 that he posted online. The link to that video will be in the description. And he does have some pretty good consoles on there in terms of enhancing accuracy and defense that I feel are a pretty good dimension. However, he talks about them a little bit better in that video. So feel free to watch that video and see those consoles to see how some of his build is. It's obviously not current build stuff in terms of defense today, simply because it's about a year old now and things have changed inside the game. But a lot of the basic stuff in there applies here. So in terms of the two examples would be, for this first example, it's going to be my PvE cruiser. It's built as PvE, not PvP. So my PvE cruiser is going to be trying to hit his escort. In his video, he mentioned that his escort can get up to about 200 defense, so that's the number I'm going to be using. And for my accuracy, the base accuracy I have on my ship is 37. I don't really have any great ways to increase this. Actually, technically, if you want to be technical, when I'm in PvE, my accuracy actually goes to negative because this beam fireball 2 lowers my accuracy by 40 on my beam weapons. And 37.2 minus 40 is actually like negative 2.8 accuracy. So on all the targets I'm hitting, they inherently get additional defense. But anyway, um, whenever you're fighting a lot of enemies in PvE, their defense utterly is abysmal and sucks in general. Which is also why they're typically a lot slower. So they're a lot easier to hit and a lot easier to take down. But anyway, for this example, my cruiser hitting his escort with his defense at 200, my accuracy at 37.2, and in this equation, it's the 100 plus 200 minus 37.2 in this bottom part, which leads to me only having a 38% chance to hit his escort with any given beam weapon that I'm doing, assuming that I'm not doing beam fireball, because otherwise it would actually get pretty close to that 300 defense, which would be 25% chance to hit. So yeah, so an example 2 will be his escort trying to hit my cruiser. Now, so for the example, we would use the defense of my cruiser, which when we're looking at here for the base, we're getting to 88.8. Now technically I can increase this with consoles and things, but we're just kind of like just doing base to base right now for just this example. So my base to his base, so my base is 88.8, and his base accuracy here is 61.5. So if we look at this equation, 100 plus my 88.8 plus minus his 61.5 leads to the overall chance being 78.6% for his escort to hit my cruiser. Now, if you think about this canonically, this makes sense. Like one of my favorite battles in Star Trek in Star Trek's TV shows at least, is when Captain Sisko piloting the Mirror Defiant in the DS9 episode Shattered Mirror. Right after he fixed their Mirror Defiant so that it actually worked properly, he piloted that ship against Mirror Worf's big gigantic cruiser, or it might be a Dreadnought, I'm not even sure. But yeah, but he flies super close and was avoiding their fire and was attacking them a bunch, and they were able to basically like defeat him and his fleet single-handedly with Defiant. And so yeah, like if you think about this canonically, it makes sense that an escort is going to be a lot harder to hit. And an escort is going to have an easier time to hit the bigger cruiser targets. So the game does kind of account for a lot of that inside of its math in total. But now to the other fun stuff, which is going to be the reputation traits. I'm just going to go through these really quick of ones that I feel are noteworthy to mention. I'm not going to cover everything, and I will cover the tier 5 stuff last, just because it's a lot easier just to go through like this little section here than to go through the reputation stuff itself. However, when I'm talking about the ones I feel are like most noteworthy to mention, I feel it's also nice to show exactly where these traits are coming from. So yeah, so to start off with, competitive war game sucks, so I'm just skipping that one entirely. For Task Force Omega, this one right here gives you additional hull regen, and this one gives additional shield regen, which is nice to have. For Nukara Strike Force, this one gives additional hull capacity, which is nice. Plus, these two are the aux to defense and aux to offense, like based upon your power levels. Especially if you're going to be a DPS person and have primary power and weapons, and secondary power and auxiliary. Having at least the offense, also the defense one too. If you're trying to add some additional survivability, is also nice to have too. For the Romulan reputation, this adds additional crit chance, which is really nice. And this also gives additional max shields. And so for this one here, don't get deceived by this guy. That like whenever you get hit by a critical hit, you get some instant shields which can be refreshed 20 seconds later. There's a similar power in the tier 4 of Lucari, which is much better, and that's one that I would go for. So for Dyson, they have this one here gives additional 16% crit severity. Um, a lot of your DPS guys are going to have the Romulan 6% crit chance combined with a 60% Dyson crit severity. A lot of times just inherently in their space reputation traits. Depending upon how your particular build is, you may or may not want to do that as well for additional damage. This one sucks. This one's a bit better. That you get additional damage resistance rating depending upon how healthy your ship is. Especially when I was at the budget end for a long time, this provided a lot of significant damage resistance for me personally, like right when I really needed it, in order to get a lot of my other cool heals off in time to basically to survive. So I feel that this is particularly valuable for a lot of your lower for your budget level tanks. So yeah, for counter command, the only one noteworthy in this entire thing is this one, which gives some additional shield hardness by a 10% chance whenever you're getting hit by the enemies, to give some additional shield resistance for 15 seconds. Let's see for Delta Alliance, if you're going to do a speed tank, this is a must-have one to have. They give you some additional base flight speed to give you some additional defense and resistance that a speed tank on a rising corvette will be able to have. And also for this guy, you get additional crit chance whenever you're hitting and those hits are not critting. So especially if you don't have high crit chance, this will allow you to build up a lot of crit chance really quickly. Alrighty, so for the Iconian resistance, this one is the must-have. I flat out call this the must-have reputation trait to have, and that your damage that you're having to deal at, to have a lot of threat, to have this damage also transfer partly into a lot of your sustain that you're having. I would honestly feel that a lot of your DPS guys are probably going to have this trait too, but especially for tanks, this is critical to have. Also, noteworthy, but something that I don't recommend taking. There are a lot of people who try to go like the immune to damage way and have like tons and tons of immunities. That may work for PvE. Of course, whenever those immunities aren't up, you get destroyed. But there are people that try to go that way. For Terran Task Force, this is basically all about torpedoes whenever it's talking about the space traits. Besides this guy, which isn't that great either. There's better things out there. So this one isn't really that worthy either. In terms of temporal defense, there's this guy right here that increases the bridge recharge speed by 7.5%, which basically translates to these abilities having shorter cooldowns, especially if you don't have DOFs attached to your ship that are lowering cooldowns. That's really nice to have. If you have tons of science powers, you might not be able to have it lowered to like completely to the way that you want it, and having this thing might have it to the way that you actually want it for your particular build. So it's definitely nice to have too. And also if you're a science guy, having additional damage against your controlled targets that you're trying to do with threatening, with your threatening controlling abilities, is also nice to have too. For the Lucari reputation, the only one that I feel is worthy to mention is this one, and this is basically really similar to the proc that you get on the Piezo Polar on beam arrays and things. It's like slightly more powerful, and this is just base hull regen instead of hull regen based upon your max hull. And this can occur once every 30 seconds whenever you're critically hit. Now this doesn't work as well on PvE. However, especially in PvP combat, I will often slot this in. Alrighty, so just to close off with the active reputation, if you want to look, there's 6 space powers, and there are what 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5 ground right now. So if you're optimizing for ground, there's going to be this straight 5 ground traits that you're going to use. If you're trying to optimize for space, and you have this 5th one unlocked, it's more like, which one am I not going to pick? Um, Now, for me personally, the one that I don't, that a lot of people use and I don't like people to use is the refracting tetrahedron cascade, just because as a tank, I'm often super close to the target within this 3 kilometers, and this cascade goes onto allies as well as enemies. So as a tank, this really sucks, because the moment I'm getting hit by this, now my damage either is just not hitting the enemy, or if they time it poorly, my damage actually goes and starts hurting my allies, which sucks. This sucks really bad. Um, um, I would personally recommend to get the other ones. However, I mean, this thing still does decent damage and does some certain confused stuff. Because of course this warning here is why I'm saying as a tank this sucks to fight with. Um, I would go with this one as your 5th one. Recommend to basically everyone watching, just because um, you can either just use the utility from this, that you get 5 seconds of cloak, or you can also as a science character or as a tank character trying to maximize your threat from gravity well. Um, After you try to do survival, this can allow this to do a lot more threats. The moment that your cloak goes off and no longer is functioning and your ship is actually visible, um, you're targeted a lot more heavily than you were prior. This is kind of a difficult thing, just because as a tank you don't want to be invisible, because if you're invisible they can't attack you. So yeah, that's about it for me personally. As you can see here, this is kind of stuff that I personally built for the space reputation, the ground reputation. I also have the energizing nanites version 2 there, and equivalent types of things there, except I have additional medical nanites just because I have some trouble staying alive from time to time because of the things that I put on my captain. But yeah, that's about it for this video. Thank you for watching, and enjoy your day.